Computer, yeah. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a guest. Her name is Mary, and she's going to talk along similar tongue tie first thing in the morning, similar to the stories that have been, spoken about in my other podcast with my recent guest. So without further ado, hello, Mary. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks, Matt, for having me on.
Well, most certainly. So I'm going to jump in as I often do. I cut BS and just dive right into the meat and potatoes.
Love it.
Yeah, man. So your story is pretty crazy from what I picked up just reading on, Facebook and different things. So if you could start right from the get-go, like how did this all come to be for you personally?
Yeah. So it kind of starts back. I like to start my story back to when I was going to get my master's. I was about 22 years old then, and I knew I didn't want to go to grad school, but I'm like, okay, well, my family wants me to go, and what are my friends going to think if I don't go? But what I really wanted to do was become a yoga teacher. I didn't know why. I had been doing yoga since I was 16, and I was like, I just feel this calling to it. So I kept trying to ignore it. And I did for a little bit. I went to grad school and actually in Arkansas. So I'm from New Jersey.
Wow.
I yeah. So I was in Arkansas and I was miserable. I was like, I just knew that this wasn't for me. And I started to get really depressed. And I mean, I was doing really well in school, but I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I know I'm supposed to help people. And I was in school to be a speech pathologist. And yeah. And so while I was just struggling internally, one day I slipped away from my meditation practice. So I had been doing yoga, meditation, and Reiki since I was about 16 years old. And I'll share that because that goes into further what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I slipped away from my meditation practice. I was just like angry at myself, angry at life. And the one day I decided to go on a hike, and I just decided to stop. You know what? I'm going to meditate even though I haven't been able to be calm. So I stopped, I meditated, and instantly I heard, that was like I say the first time, but not the first time I actually heard my intuition. And I heard my favorite quote, which is, do not follow where the path may lead, but go instead where there's no path and leave a trail. Nice. And then that was the first time I saw with my clairvoyance two paths. I saw the path that I was on now, where there was the end destination. I'd get my degree, I'd work a 9 to 5, and hate it. Yes, because I felt it, and I felt so alone and so miserable.
Oh, dude, that's rough, man.
Yeah. And then I saw the other path, which was drop out of grad school, go become a yoga teacher, and figure it out from there. I couldn't see the end result.
Love it.
And the destination, right? And I felt it, and it felt like freedom. It felt like happiness. And I just could feel how fulfilling it would be. So I got done my hike, went home, said I'm dropping out of grad school.
Well, you told your parents, and they're probably just shitting their pants, like, what? Yeah. Drugs? Yeah.
Yeah, I called my parents and I called my mom. Hey, Mom, I'm in Texas. I dropped out of grad school. I'm going to go move to Las Vegas. I got accepted at a yoga studio in there for their yoga teacher training. And she said she was going to go cry herself to sleep.
I knew it. I was going to say her reaction was probably not even a word, just a mumble or like a gasping for air. Are you crazy? Yeah, okay. I love it because we're going to hit a bunch of notes on that here after your story.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
So then I called my dad and I said, hey, Dad, I'm in Texas. And he said, I ruined my life. I said, I'm 22 years old. How did I ruin my life? But okay. So fast forward, I go to Vegas. I get my yoga training. I knew as soon as I got to Las Vegas, I made the right decision. Sweet. And I'm getting chills as I say this.
Oh, God, yeah.
So fast forward from there, I was teaching yoga, moved back to New Jersey a year later, and started my own yoga business. From there, it led me back to Reiki. got trained in Reiki,
Nice.
and started to add that to work with my clients. Quit my bartending job, decided to pursue my business full time, and here I am now teaching other people exactly what I do.
Right, man. That's what I'm trying to do, and I got a nudge multiple, obviously, as we spoke before the podcast here. Like, it's almost unfit to pick up my phone now, because it's like what it used to be was a little ding here and there periodically from close friends and associates, and then you put on some content that people really resonate and gravitate to, and this whole podcast idea and the content with memes and the things that I interact with people, it's overwhelming. Like, I love it to death. And I spoke to my wife last night, and I said, I think I need to do this full time. And her head hung, and I was like, not this again, man. Like, when I started my business 4 years ago as a landscaper renovator, she had the same idea and thought, like, oh, well, I'm nervous about finances, because we always been groomed and conditioned to think that foremost, the most important thing is money, 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 money. That's going to riddle all your worries and all your frets. It's like, no, actually, that's a mirage. It's like the times when you woke up in the middle of the night or morning, you're like holding on your pillowcase because you think it's a bag of money, and you're like, oh, fuck, it's just a dream. So that's the mentality that we're providing ourselves and our kids today, and it's just backwards, hillbilly wrong, man. Fuck, sorry, yeah.
No, I agree with you totally. That is something money to me. So I view everything as energy, and money is energy. That is something I always dive in on that.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's hit some notes on it, unless you want to carry it. Like, your story is still kind of like, sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
say sorry probably too much because I interrupt all the time, but it's just like sometimes when things need to be said, they got to be said. But in respect, I got to quiet down. So
yeah, whatever questions you have.
Yep. So let's go back to where you just were before my brutal interruption. I slay people with interruptions all day. So you quit everything. Your parents are totally on like the fucking, kick that she's not going to make it. How could she do this? We brought her up this way. And I'm sure that like all these hampering negative Nellies were in the back of your head from multiple directions and multi-facet characters just telling you, no, 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 no. So what really pushed you to, go in that direction without saying, all right, they're right. What am I thinking? That was a cuckoo idea. It's total woo-woo. Like, what pushed you to make you feel, obviously I know, but just for the audience, that extra drive home just to slam it and do it?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So it really came down to I knew myself and I believed in myself. And I say that with ease right now because we're always getting to know ourselves and we're always changing. So even though at times I feel like I know myself, there have been plenty of times where I don't, but in that moment internally, what was that gut feeling was, Mary, believe in yourself. You are strong. So that's what was like, out of I had no support, none.
Dude, it's rough when that happens, man. Like, I think a lot of us can speak on that notion. Well, I already did. You did, obviously, and other ones can concur with that too, with their own testimonials. And it's brutal that we have to people please. That's the biggest definition right there, and the prime example is people pleasing. We're doing things out of commitment, obligation, and respect for our loved ones who brought us up. Okay, well, they've done it, so I guess I have to carry that same bloody torch, and I don't want to. So how do I get past this without suppressing my own inner happiness and growth? Because I know what I want to do, but I got all these naysayers saying otherwise. That's harsh. And so you're in a ring. My favorite comparison analogy, and everyone knows that's what I do, analogies all day. It's like being in a boxing ring, and all fighters will tell you this. You might have an audience around you. You think that they're cheering for you. They don't give two sweet shits. It's the entertainment that's happening. But you're in there fighting by yourself in your own chaos. Internally, that's what boxers do. You're fighting yourself, and you got a physical opponent in front of you. That's all it is. That's for entertainment purposes, but it's scary as shit. And they walk away from that fight, whether they're victorious or not. They feel empty because it's probably not what they truly wanted to be or do, right? And that's how we feel, being obligated and pushed in a direction we don't want to be pushed in. We're not fucking shopping carts, people.
Yeah, I love
Mm,
that analogy so much because, and it's like that person in the ring is just you're fighting against yourself. That's what it comes down
uh,
to, because that what you're fighting against, like you said, is like, oh well, people pleasing. What that's the first thing that came to my mind. What are my colleagues gonna think if I drop out of grad school? What are they gonna say? What are people, gonna say about me? That was who I was fighting, because I'm going to go and do what I want to do, and people are going to say whatever they want to say.
exactly. And I'll add to that point too, that you may have naysayers, but there's some quiet, silent ones in that background that are like, oh, fuck, I think she's onto something. Man, me too.
Yeah.
And then you're giving the rights and the onus for these people to come forward and go, fuck yeah, we can do this. We don't have to live in the matrix and all the bullshit rules and rigorous way of operating. Like it's not that, like the key factor that people have now is, the baby boomers and the ones coming up from them. Like get that gold watch, you're 65, you retire, and you just sit, in some type of heaven, but you don't. You're suffering. You put in all those years and all that work for a corporation. Typically, it's not a sole individual who's like, I'll praise you and keep giving you raises. No, it's like big box stores. It's all about the money, man. This world is sickening with money. I get it. We need it to thrive. It can leverage you to propel you in directions that you couldn't have before on a dollar. So that's cool when you can stack your money with your stacked vibrations and frequencies. But we're getting it twisted and confused to think that money is everything. And if we have that, we're totally 100%, sustainable and able to operate from that frequency. And you just can't. You can't. There's going to be things creeping out. It's kind of like let's say a cracked window, for an example, and there's birds hitting. I don't know why I have that representation of birds, but they smash into them all the time. And if you have multiple birds hitting that window, that pane of glass, eventually it's going to shatter. So you can put up a wall, and this is my analogy, putting up a wall or a pane of glass to the world. They can see you, you can see out, and they're just pelting shit out all the time. In a sense, it's actually your subconscious saying, let's break that down and smash through it already. Forget the birds slamming into it and trying to repair it and all that. We don't want that anymore, people. We just want to be free, loving, caring, and do what we want to do as individuals, not being told how to do things. This is why kids are defiant today. And there's so many levels and degrees of, the rising ADHD and everything else. These kids know it. Our star speed children, these kids are on point all day long. And us parents are like whipping them, get back in line. Oh, right. No, I don't like that. So why do I have to operate that way with my kids? Don't live through their eyes, man. Let them be who the fuck they want to be, right? It's easy,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
right? And I don't know, I always say this, I should have said this from the get-go before I hit record. I toss out that flow of vulgarity because that's just what it does for me. I
I
mean,
love
oh, thanks, sweet. I love it too because it kind of makes things go the way it needs to. Like that would be, if somebody told me, I would appreciate and respect them if they said, okay, Matt, that kind of bothers me, then I'd put it aside. But that's like having a river and putting walls in there and barricades and me trying to find a way to go up and around. You can do that, but why bother? Just let it flow naturally out of you. I've always expressed myself that way. And I try to prevent it when I was younger, raised as a wannabe witness, an associate of the witnesses. And I would pray to a God, their God, or whatever you want to call it, and ask for forgiveness. Please teach me the way to stop speaking in this manner. Like, what am I beating myself up for? Oh, right, because I was told you can't do this, you can't act that way. Yeah, it's exhausting when you're trying to live in the eyes of someone else. You don't need
Yeah.
to. No.
It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about, being as much as true to yourself as
Thank
possible.
you.
And that's how you express yourself. That's beautiful.
It is, right? And again, it's allowing other people to follow suit with you to realize that there is another path to take. That carved down, beaten path isn't working for us anymore, right? So we are the, you can call us black sheep, if you will. We're breaking the chains and we're not
Yeah.
going in that road and travel that path anymore. So yeah, sorry. Let's get back to your story, Mary. So you've got your setup with yoga. You've got your classes, you got your workshops. So How, okay, you were 16 then. I don't want to give away your age, but we're going to say probably, I'll say maybe 6, 7 years ago, give or take. Sound right?
From when I was 16.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to give it away. I'm going to ask, and then you're like, yeah, here it is.
I'm 27 now,
Hmm.
or 28. I just had a birthday, 28.
I was going to say 28 and add those years. But I'm like, I better not, because if she's 24 or something, and it's like, oh, right. Nobody wants to hear that. But again, age is irrelevant. Those numbers don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's the experience within the the meat suit or the energy contained within that vessel. Um, so yeah, you've got that all geared up now, and I've seen, like, it's kind of cool that you shared your Zoom with me, and I could see, the caption of the subheading of your title, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty freaking wild. I wish I would have engineered something like that a lot sooner back in my younger years, but it's all about timing. I'm not about time. That's irrelevant too.
Yeah.
But in terms of the matrix and the 3D, it feels necessary to put this out, that things come along, and like, you can have a test, you could pass it or fail it. But I think my subconscious realized, and even consciously, that the gift that I was given at 19, I wasn't ready for yet. I wasn't ready to pass that torch and run with it, or run with it and pass it. I actually just turned on myself and lit myself up and burnt right up. And it sucked. Not knowing what to do with the tools, it's almost like carpentry. You can have all the tools that are available for you, but if you don't know how to repair the simplest thing with like a hammer and nails, what's the service of all the other ones? And that's kind of where I got caught in limbo. And I was like, okay, I'll be compliant. I'll medicate for 20 years and almost die in this stuff. What am I learning through the whole process of this? And that's when I finally woke up, um, 7 years ago. I was like, okay, I know what I got to do. How do I do it? And I was lost, and I would seek answers, and I found them like you did, through quieting the mind, that chitter chatter all day long. Fuck, it's just nonsense. We need to tune into a frequency that we can resonate with our higher consciousness and the divine. And I swear to God, for me personally, I can do that all day long. But when I'm in that sweet spot, just sitting there in complete darkness, actually, this is where I sit, and my dog took off. Okay, there she is. Actually, that's my eldest stepboy's dog, but it's family, so it's all the same. I lay on that mat or sit on that mat, and no one's awake yet. I get up at well, my wife is actually. We get up together at 6:30. I just come out here. I don't wash my face, take a leak, bam, just sit right down and start thinking about what I want to do, and then close my eyes, and then I perform EFT on my hands to get the energy flowing in my hands, because that's what you're going to create your malleable material with, to make it, a formed physical whatever. And then I'll start moving my neck, because I've been diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. And this isn't victimization. It's simply put that I overcame that shit, but I still get kinks naturally. I mean, physical meat suit. I mean, how can you not? You're going through all kinds of crap all day, putting it through whatever. But the moment that I sit there and it's only 10 minutes, I forget where I am and what's going on. And a little beeper goes off. I'm like, it's too soon. I think I need to extend it to a 20-30 minute segment. Rise a little earlier to get that. But yeah, my point that I'm driving home here is there's too much static noise around us constantly. And people are always saying, disconnect, disconnect, disconnect. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's not about disconnection. It's about connecting to the right source to get what you need in order to operate from that frequency and vibration. And that's rather hard when you're tuned into TV, social media all day, and just doing your thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. A big part of my journey was like, that really drove me to my awakening, was like self-love. Like, I thought I knew how to love myself, and I was so far away from that. And to your point of like, just connect, like, even if you just take, for me, really just like putting my hands on my heart and taking a few breaths was like how I began to understand what's true self-love is.
Love that you said that, Mary. Actually, I'm going to add to that too. I read that in a book. I don't think you actually need to read books if you actually just quiet everything. You got information coming from every source, but I remember reading that. I don't know what book it was, but like, if you feel panicked, anxious, and nervous, all you got to do is place your right hand, left hand doesn't matter, center your chest, wherever you feel your heartbeat more consistently, and just go, oh, there we are. And you're totally locked in, present, everything around you just swirling. You're like, yep, whatever, man. I remember who I am and what I'm doing here. So that's cool. That's a sure way to bring that down rather quickly. Actually, been in, I guess, the best method. So yeah, as you were saying there, Mary. Water's a good thing, especially when you're podcasting, talking a mile a minute.
Yes.
Okay, so what else? Actually, let me back it up. When you talked about not feeling like you truly loved yourself and whatnot, I'm guessing, aside from the externals of exposure to everyday life and the peer pressures and obligations and all that garbage, did you go through rough relationships up to that point before you had clarity of mind and seeing what you really wanted to do and then go after it? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we can all agree on, I think, is because if you don't have love for yourself, you're just giving from an empty cup. And what is an empty cup? It's like a fucking clown that has handkerchiefs. You're like, when is that stupid shit gonna end? Like, I'm getting bored of this already, right? And he's like, ah. So that's the whole factor, is love yourself unconditionally. Be grateful for the scars that you have, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. Just know everything's okay. It's going to be fine. And when you realize that, you're like, oh, wow, light bulb moment. So now I love myself and my cup is full and I feel like I'm whole. I can give to other people. Oh, wow. That's all you got to do. People think that they get in relationships and they say, oh, you make me whole and you make me complete. No, they don't. You're just sucking life out of them constantly in hopes that you're going to gain something. And all you're doing is filling a void endlessly. A black hole. Just, and what that does is creates stagnation for both parties in the relationship. And they're all fighting amongst themselves. And they say, it's money, it's this. The deep rooted reason is you don't love yourself. That's the reason why you're having difficulties with that partner. They're there to complement, not to destroy each other, right? You wouldn't do
Yeah.
that to your best friend, would you? You know?
Yeah, I love that you said they're there to complement, because a big part that I realized from it with myself is like exactly how you said, we're seeking things that we desire but we don't internally have yet. So it's like when you have that internal switch and you switch your vibration to unconditionally loving yourself, you see the whole world in a whole new light. And now I look back and I'm like, why would I,
Oh, I know,
you
man.
know,
Beat on
tolerate?
yourself. Yeah, exactly. And if we could all get on that operating level, it's not even about namaste and being all spiritual. And it's just like, hey, man, love yourself. One love. Well, it starts with you. And I often say it, MJ. I don't care what people say about him. That dude was magical, man. I love the guy. And he said it in one of his songs, did he not? It starts with the man in the mirror or the woman. I shouldn't say, he shouldn't have said the man, because that kind of distinguishes the power of the women and pushes them aside. And I'm going to add to this too, that I was speaking to a friend of mine last night, and everyone's on the male, usually, I should say, I shouldn't say everyone, but on the male spectrum of people who come into light of awakening, a lot of guys, not everybody guys, but a lot of guys just want it to be a man clan. Like, well, wait a minute, that's half-assed backwards, isn't it? If we want to remove the segregation, division, the divide and conquer method, and be unified as one whole body, why would you exclude the feminine energy? That's like, oh, we got the yang, we're fucking wicked over here. What about the yin, man? To balance that, guys? Like, come on. So that's what I want to introduce with my qigong classes, my breath work. Everybody's included, so everyone has a place to go to feel welcomed. I don't want exclusions. That shit is toxic and garbage, and it's not the way to present yourself showing up in the world. That's not really liked by a lot of other people, male and female. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah, I mean, a big piece. I love what you said about the energy part, because no matter what you identify as, everybody has masculine energy and feminine energy. So if you're a male and you're not in tune with your feminine energy, then
That's
you
right.
not going to be able to receive. And and a lot of, I feel like a lot of people don't know how to tap into that. And that just can be something as getting creative with what you wear. That's feminine energy.
Actually, good point. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I love that you, touched on the masculine side and the feminine side, because we all have masculine energy and feminine energy. If
Yes.
I myself, I love being in the divine feminine energy, but if I'm
Powerful,
not,
man. God.
yeah, if I'm not in touch with my masculine side, though, then I'm not going to take any action, and all these creative ideas that I'm getting from my feminine energy, if I'm not in my masculine, I'm not going to take action, and they're not going to come to fruition.
Thank you. And I'm gonna say to that too that, I was brought up, and I said this before, to be rough and tough. And I always felt this really deep rooted connection to women, like my entire life. But I was like, no, can't be like that. Society says you got to be hoorah tough. Come on, get it on, boys. Military style. And it was gnawing at me. And I'm certain that by avoiding that and operating from that level, I was actually pushing that into my muscles, into my bones, into my organs, and suppressing it, which came out eventually through physical pain and suffering. Or you're sad and depressed, and you're like, why do I feel this way? Everything's hunky dory. I'm hanging with people, works great, but I feel like shit instantaneously. And you're like, fuck. That's because it's your higher conscious saying you're not operating from the level that you're supposed to, guy. What are you doing? Don't suppress halfway. That's like cutting yourself in half and going, oh, I can still operate like this. I can still interact with people and do my work with 50% of what I am. It doesn't work that way. You need to be fully in tune and aligned with yourself to complete that balance. And I've said it before with the shamanic workshop I went to last year. It was cool as fuck. And I walked in and I felt so out of place, the only male. I was like, wow. So I'm surrounded by like 7 women. I was kind of in my glory, but kind of intimidated. Like, I'm not kidding, guys. Women, men, they intimidate me because I know how powerful they can be. It's not like I'm scared, like, oh shit. But I realize, well, okay, look at this. Here's a simple example. If you look at a lion, right? The lions, the lioness. You ever see a male lion back down from a female? It's bloody scary, man. And she's like, rah, and he's like, oh, like a coward kitten. So when I walked into this circle of 7 women, we all did the sage. I love sage, as you see. I did it in the beginning of the podcast. I do it all the time. She was walking around me, and I felt more calm and relaxed after that sage. It removed any stagnation, any toxicity that might have came with me. And people might not realize that too, that you carry that through people, through smells, thoughts, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a continuation. But I sat down with these women and felt kind of awkward. And I addressed it with the host, and she looked at me and said, well, actually, Matt, this is a gift for you to be here with us. No, I said, oh, I get that. She's like, no, quiet down. I was like, okay. She goes, it's beautiful that you're here because it's going to change the dynamics of the entire atmosphere, your male energy. I'm like, oh, cool. So then I kind of relaxed, like, all right, I'm wanted here. I feel okay now. This is great. And we got to talking. We were doing our journeys, with the drums and whatnot. And after coming back from our journeys, she said something about picking up like massive female energy with me. And this is me being egotistical, even then last year, like, what? Kind of taken by that. I was kind of embarrassed. And she's like, don't worry about it, man. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with the feminine energy. It's not like you think you're more female physical attributes or emotional, whatever, over the male. That's not what we're saying. I was like, oh, okay. So what is the clarity on that? She said, basically, it's your spirit's energy. Like your energy encapsulated in your vessel contains a lot of feminine energy, and that's why you can basically reach out with your tentacles and connect on such a deep level with people. And females, majority, I've always been told, excellent listener, somehow with all my interruptions. And that kind of gave me that essence of being okay with it. After walking out, like, that's great. Now I can be who I want to be. And I'm not gay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just as a disclaimer, that sounded too much like Seinfeld. Jerry said it once in a show. But what I'm saying here is we're getting it fucking twisted, right? The energy that you show up in the world with is yours to express the way you want and be authentic. Don't hold back on that and play out a role and a character that's not you because society tells you to, man. Like that's crippling. And that's why you had people who was from the gay community in the 70s and whatnot offing themselves and acting the way they did, you know, hide behind. Even today, the stigma is horrible. Um, it's pitiful to see people operating from that fear mentality. And that's what I'm trying to do is remove that fear, removing it within myself so that I can project that to others through social media, what we're doing here. So it gives you a leg or two to stand on, knowing you already have those two legs to stand on, but your knees are weak. Let's strengthen them together through tying up and interacting with each other. And we're going to see people raising up when you would have thought, like, no way. Are you serious? And just watching them grow. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back down to how this conversation even started, is that people please, they're not caring what people think. So, you know, showing up in that room and just being in your own authentic energy as you, regardless of being the only male or whatnot. So I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. And I think it's great too that you're so young. I shouldn't even say that. It's not even about, like I mentioned earlier, age, but like I've been talking to a lot of people who are just coming into their awakenings, and I'm like, wow, man, things are really moving fast, as we know. Like things are manifesting super fast. Um, you know, things are progressing a lot quicker than they ever have. So maybe that's why, and it's necessary because I always say time is irrelevant, but I feel we're running out of time if we don't tap into this source quickly and get things pushed on, because this is steamrolling us. I don't know about you and what your take is on COVID there, Mary, but for me, it was a big mirror reflection to go, oh, okay, I got all this work to do. Cool. Put that back and get to it rather than sit on it like it was some type of negative nuisance and it was just going to ruin my life. Like a lot of people, I noticed driving along, and I've seen it on podcasts, people spoke of Rich Roll and other ones. You would go along when this first started and see bags on garbage day full of liquor, you know, bottles and stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, that hurts, because I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, just over 3 years. And I was like, damn, man, you could have utilized that time to do more. But my understanding and takeaway is people are where they are because that's where they need to be at that current moment. And it's not for us to say, come on, man, get your shit together. That's not compassion, understanding, having space for that person. That's being a dick, dictating dick, man. And nobody likes that.
Yeah, well, again, it comes back to another one of your analogies. When you're in that ring, you're only fighting against yourself. So if you're going to go back to things that aren't, you know, going to benefit you in any way, then that's their destiny, right? And it's like nobody's coming to save you but yourself,
I
because
love it. Thank you.
yeah, it takes for you to understand that you are now ready to then transform. So that's how I see with I work with people of all ages, and a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I knew all this at your age. And it's like, you can pick and pull from everybody's journey, but it's ultimately it's just when you're ready. And for me, actually, I am right there with you with like the whole COVID thing. To me, COVID was really just bringing awareness that we have one life to live. So be yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we don't know when our time is up. Our next breath isn't guaranteed. So if you allow yourself to live every day truly and wake up, show up, be yourself, live every day like it's your last. I'm not saying, quit your job and go do whatever, like live in your energy as if it was your last day.
Thank you. That's beautifully said too. And, you know, I've got nothing to add to that because you just finalized it, Mary. So thank you for that. So let's hit on some notes about, if you want, with your permission, to dive into your past for a minute and see where things might have been kind of mucky for you in relations to your family, your peers, your upbringing, like how you felt. Did you feel like an outsider before all this came to light? I'm sure you can probably agree with that because I certainly did, and a lot of us.
Yeah, definitely. And so I was always the person who could fit into any group. So I was the athlete, I was the bookworm, I was the girl who's into investing
Brutal.
in the stock market. I was the yoga hippie girl. So it's like I could fit into, and still now to this day, I'm all those things. I can still fit into every group.
Nice.
But what was really challenging was I was almost like a chameleon. Like I
Oh,
didn't know
wow,
who I
dude.
was.
You didn't just say that, Mary. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Carry on. I'll tell you. Just remember that key word, chameleon. Yeah, that kind of stuck me. I love it though. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you don't, so back then was trying to, I knew that I liked all these things. I like being an athlete. I like reading. I like being, with the quote unquote nerdy people. So when, but it's really now recognizing what it came down to was just taking all those pieces of me and not being afraid to talk about if I was with like, we'll say like the athlete group and talk about like spirituality. Like that was also a big part of my part of my journey was like I've always been into this stuff but too afraid to talk about it.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I've now recognized maybe where in the past that like, oh, I'm with this group, I can only talk about these things because I don't want to be the
Totally.
outcast.
Yeah. And it's pitiful because that's what a lot of our youth feel like today. They're just dying inside, wanting to rip their fucking meat suit apart and going, I'm here, world. But I can't. I got to close myself back in my cocoon because I'm not accepted. I see the world that is provided for me out there, and you've got your little clicks and your little, whatever. And it's difficult. I've been there too. Actually, it's kind of cool with the skateboarding group, man, that we had. Like we were just a bunch of tree hugging hippies back then, and we could always relate to each other. We'd sit down, we'd ground in earth all the time without even realizing we are doing it. Like we had a place called the Dick in our town, and it was a cement slab running off a sidewalk, so you can grind off it. You can do all kinds of. I'm not going to go in some weird shit because that's what it presents when you say a name of a place that you call it. It's kind of weird. But we would congregate there in groups of like 30 and 40 at a time on the daily, all summer long. So there's that just crazy energy of vibrations and frequencies, and we're always fucking happy, man. And I remember saying to my group of people as I got older and we branched away, we had families and jobs and responsibilities, and that light that was bright just started getting dimmer and dimmer. Like, fuck, I hate this. Why can't we go back to hanging to our buddy's place? My best friend Danny back then, we'd hang in his basement. Fuck, 20 of us in a little 20 by 15, 20, I don't know, something like that. And it's like, how? We smoke dope, we laugh, push each other. Like, that's what I want and need in life. And that's what I feel like I'm getting from this group, this tribe, that people are on the same page. We all want the same thing. We don't want to scuffle around and look down at our feet all day and embarrassment and shame to be who we really want to be and shine as we need to. So yeah, man, I want to get back to that. And I think I need to take back up skateboarding. So do everything
Yeah.
you did as a kid and you'll be fine. Really.
So when you look back and you remember that memory, what's the biggest feeling that you get from that?
Oh, total ecstatic bliss, like utopia, like the perfect atmosphere where everything is just hunky dory. You didn't have any frets and worries. It was just like you've got your tribe, man. And you would fist bump each other. We didn't have technology back then, people. My fuck, if you wanted to see somebody, like, yo, all right, so we're all gathering here tonight. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Cool. So and so, and just ring people up, man, on an actual rotary phone if you needed to. We just came in groups all the time, and it was just like synchronicities, man. We go camping together, be 14, 15 of us, 15 of us on a small little island. Like, you ever see that movie? What's it called? It's not The Lost Boys. Stand By Me. Those three characters, man. Beautiful movie. I haven't seen it, and you guys want to relate to something, man? Chime into that ASAP. I'll put that on this description box below. It's a movie with the two Coreys. Well, the one from the two Coreys. If you might not be familiar, Mary. I mean, I am 41. Just to put that out there again. But it was a movie that I could watch with my kids, our kids, even 5, 6 years ago, and they loved it. My nephew and nieces and stuff, they would watch it, you know, on their own, like, this is such a good movie. They'd all get together. I'm like, yes, you got the right idea, man. Come together and accept things for what they are and have fun while you're doing it. That's all you got to do. Just be free, live, love, and just fucking do your thing, man. It's easy. You just got to turn off the fear factor that we're viewing all day in our phones and our TVs. Utilize that information, mitigate it so that it works for you, not against you. Right? It is butthole simple. This is why people tell us, view life through the eyes of your children. Don't live your life through them, but just see how they're operating, going, oh my God, they're all mingling together. Okay, usually, right? You know, on a playground and whatnot, they're all mingling together, different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, religions. Like, none of that fucking matters to a kid who just wants to play on the monkey bars, kick sand in the sandbox, build shit, do whatever. They just want to interact and have fun. And that's all we want to do. But we're not allowing ourselves because we're worried about the outcome. The negative nuisances of people telling you, you can't do that. Stop doing that. You're embarrassing me. You look like an idiot. That's not how we're engineered to operate. We got to get in line like soldiers. And I'll tell you, Mary, it was quite a bit of a eye-opener one day. I was going to work when I worked for a company before I branched off on my own. And I'm in a town and I'm on the same route, but I see all these school buses traveling together. And they're in single file. And I'm like, fuck me. There's like 10 of them. They look like prison buses, man, just going nose to nose, tail to tail, going up the fucking road. I'm like, oh my God. There's like a bunch of ants. And there's nothing wrong with education, but it's the form of education. It's like delivering a message, but not having the ability, I'm about to say it and stumble, and articulate what you need to say so that it's receptive properly with that individual or people. And that's the problem with the school system. I've got schools in my county that look like prison places, man, like institutions. They're all painted gray. They're just plain. There's no banners. There's nothing. And they're trying to claim that they're protecting our children from society and the way things are getting. Things are getting out of control. You can't even open a fucking door. You got to hit a button for them to let you in. Like, does that not feel like a prison institution, man? We're putting our kids before these places to drop them off. And I just got done having a conversation with my wife and kid this morning, dropping off to work at school. I was like, I don't get this, man. This place is like, I never liked school, man. I knew they weren't teaching me what I needed to do what I needed to do in life and be my own person. They're teaching me how they wanted me to be and show up in the world for them. And that's the fucking key factor here, isn't it, people? We need to do what we need to do because we want to, and this is our soul's mission, man. Like, you can't deny that. That's like denying yourself in the mirror and you look in and you're like, nope, turn a blind eye to that. That shit doesn't exist. Get that the fuck out of there. And you see some other image. You can do that, but you're only suppressing yourself further and making things more difficult for you. So how are we doing? Yeah, sorry, my tangent is over. That rant. It drives me nuts, and I shouldn't have that negative perception on it, because I see things in people, I see things in communities that could be so different, and it's getting there slowly. But I'm kind of like the kids with the ADHD without having diagnosing. I'm fucking certain it. If you want to colonize me like that, great, we'll go with the labels. But I need things to speed up, not for myself, for the world around me, so that it's just welcoming for all of us. There's no more discrimination. There's no more bigotry. There's no more isolating and exclusions. Like, what's your take on competition, Mary?
Yeah, well, I want to kind of just like, from what I'm hearing, this is the coach standpoint in me, is it, and you know, it's not a negative thing of how you see it. It's just, I can feel your passion from it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was hearing you say is I needed to speed up, and that need is like almost kind of what we already touched on, right? Is like people are going to wake up to their lesson exactly when
Thank
they're
you. I knew
and
I threw it out there. I should have actually retracted that, but thank you for.
yeah, no, and that's okay. Just like remembering that, you know, you can't rush healing, right? But I'm so there with you, so there.
We're just so like excited, you know, to like,
exactly. We want everybody to have this understanding that you can there's more, there is more. So
Yeah.
but what was your question?
Shit, yes, let's get back to that. We just went offline for a minute. Dang it, man. Too bad the audience wasn't there. Like, you know what we should do? Here's a good idea. Why don't we go live sometime and actually have people questioning, and then we can answer the questions if they wish. That would be cool.
Yeah, Facebook Live.
Yeah, man. So yeah, there's uncertainty. Just I don't know what the question was.
Oh, competition. That's what you asked.
Right. Thank you.
Yes,
Right.
actually, I actually love this question. So
Yeah.
I don't believe in competition. So I am I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a Reiki master, I'm a life coach, and everybody and their mom, one is a yoga teacher or a Reiki master, and because people say, oh, I don't want to do this because this field is saturated. Every field is saturated. There's how many real estate agents, how many accountants, like everything. So it's just, I don't believe in competition because I believe that the people that I'm meant to help and serve are going to come to me. Just like as some of my best friends who do the same exact things, their people are totally different because it's all based on our energy, and it's all based on where, especially in in my line of work of being a Reiki practitioner, life coach, it's dependent on if I've been there myself, can then I then guide somebody else. So I don't believe in competition.
Me either. Like I mentioned to a friend of mine the other night, like I put up this program initially to get my story out there. But once I got the feedback, like I sucked in the bathroom this morning, like just the positive feedback. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to touch that because I will get, I'm already getting you there. Stop that. It's good to let that out. Again, another disclaimer, always. It's okay to let things out, but I just want to control myself and pull the reins in so I can spit out what I need to say. And just like that, I just lost myself. But about the competition, that's what's segregating our kids, family members, our peers, associates, the world as a whole. And what does that really do? It's like, you ever see a person who becomes famous and they buy the most expensive things that they couldn't ever even dream about? Let's say it's a mansion. We'll say just this old dude rose to the top, put everything on the line to get there. And it's like, oh, this is beautiful. Looking all around, marble floors maybe, and like aesthetic fucking, expensive paintings on the walls, and like who knows how he's got it designed, but his voice is echoing and bellowing throughout the hallways and stairwells, and he's like, fuck, so I got this castle that's all mine. I have no one to share it with. So the point I'm making here is, don't go after the big slice of fucking pie in life, which is known as money and materialistic gain in that nature. I mean, if your intent is to utilize that and leverage to make things better for everybody or whatever, great. But if it's solely just for your entertainment and your gain, that's when we get fouled up, isn't it? We get stumbling on those blocks, and you're like, oh wait, I thought I was happy with this, but I'm not. Yeah, competition needs to be tossed out. Why can't we all just entertain ourselves by playing a fucking game of football or soccer or whatnot without throwing a scoreboard down?
Yeah, I think a big piece of it is your why. You have to know why you're doing with anything. It's the intention behind it. That intention is energy. So no matter if you're like a spiritual entrepreneur or an accountant, it has to be your why. Like, are you becoming an accountant because you can make good money, or because it's something that you enjoy doing and working with numbers and helping people get their finances in order? So because it's everything, it all starts with your why. The money is just a tool. So money can be used. Money is like a knife, right? You can use the knife to cut up a lemon and use it as to a delicious meal, or you could use that knife to
elixir.
What's that?
Oh yeah, sorry. Or a turmeric elixir, because you said lemon. I'm like, yeah, I'm visualizing me cutting.
Yeah, exactly. You can use that knife is a tool to get you to your health, right? To make that delicious elixir, or you can use that knife to harm somebody. So it's the same thing with money. It's just a tool, but it's the why of your energy behind the money, the why, that's what brought you that money. So if that why was something negative, then you're going to use that money as a negative tool.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Mary. I'll catch up. Sorry.
That's okay.
Like, this is the last time I'm coming on this podcast. Fuck. Oh no, seriously. I was giving you the floor back. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm complete.
Oh, okay. Because we're both staring at each other like crickets start chirping in the back. Yeah, you're right on that note. And I don't think we're actually going to understand that until, I would say, the whole society wakes up. And I love that you corrected me on my perception of thought there, waiting and wanting this to speed up, because it's the ego talking, I guess, right? I don't want it for them. There must be something within me that I want it to be sped up, because I'm a fast engineered character anyway. People know when Matt's coming along, you either move or you're going to get plowed over. And it's not that I'm coming in again with anger and hate and all that. It's just, I've got a mission. I know what I want to do. And it's clear as a fucking bell. And if people are going to get in the way, well, then you got to get stormed down, man. But the people that are with me, we're going to charge in numbers and just make this shit happen. Like, I talked to a good friend, Kelsey, last night about what I'd like to do and my intent to help the world in so many different ways, this being one of them on a small scale. But you got to start somewhere. Not at the top of the, rung of the ladder just yet. I don't even care to be there anyway. Just knowing that I can make a difference on a massive scale with my story and my intent, I'm happy. I'm cool with that. I don't have to have large amounts of money in the bank. I'm broke as fuck right now, struggling because my season's almost done with the reno work and landscaping. But I'll tell you, man, married the last 2 weeks, I haven't stressed about it, man. I was like, you know what? Things are going to work out the way they need to be. We've had a ton of rain. I've got ample time to focus on this now. So there's a better reason behind it. And I need to trust the process, not let my fucking ego get in the way and go, oh, I better go out there and make money. My God, I got to secure everything. It's kind of stupid, isn't it? As you said, you don't know when your last breath is, or what tides might turn your lifestyle and flip that shit upside down. You never know. So be grateful every moment of the day for what you have, what you can give, offer, and receive, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, gratitude, right? Gratitude is the attitude, because I know some people is like, oh, come on, like if you're like, just be grateful you're alive and you're breathing today, and people can look at you like you're crazy. But it's like, if we're not grateful for these little things, do you think that whatever you call it, God, source, the universe, energy, is going to give you more? If a friend was to buy you a cup of coffee and you didn't thank your friend, do you think they would buy you a cup of coffee ever again? Exactly.
Yeah, well, sometimes we get caught up. I mean, sometimes it's not even that it's the expectation. It's simply that you've been friends with somebody perhaps for so long. I mean, we can tear anything apart and analyze it, I guess. I'm a very analytical critter. I like to do that. That's usually why I get hung up on a lot of stuff. But yeah, sometimes we just forget. But that is also another reason to bring us back there. These simple little moments of gratitude that you're showing on the daily can actually stack to big things. So you're keeping your consistent routine of just thank you, like holding doors, smiling at people, man. It doesn't take much to change the attitude of the person in front of you. Like, dude, I've gone to a Walmart before and a lady was like super hateful. I was like, holy fuck. I'm dressed up in a suit because at that point I was involved with witnesses going door to door, events and stuff. I remember standing like, okay, so my suit isn't enough to show that this woman, or show this woman that, I've got some class maybe or whatnot, the egotistical mindset. I was like, how can I turn this around, man? Because I don't want to walk away from this transaction feeling as shitty as she does and dragging that fucking God knows where. So like, I'm going to change this up, man. So I just started talking to her like a human being, not a recipient of a fucking Walmart associate to do a transaction. Here's your money. Here's your receipt. Fuck off. I'll see you probably next year or some shit. So I actually hit it on a personal note and just talked to her like a human being. And her face lit up. I was like, oh, fuck, man. That took like less than a minute. And I walked out of there feeling great, left her feeling great. And I'm sure the way she interacted with people from that day on, or even that last bit of shift, was a complete changeover. So my job was done with a mere smile and a small interaction to make those eyes sparkle again. It's like, that's all this takes. kindness. Kill people with kindness, but don't kill them. Like, I think that's a shitty term, actually.
Yeah,
I don't like
absolutely.
the word
I
kill.
want to add on to that, one of the best ways that you can interact with a human, especially people who are in customer service and dealing with people all day long, look at their name tag and address them by their name.
All that
Hey,
is beautiful.
Angela. Hey, John. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, John. And it's like some simple action like that. I love doing this because like you just see their face look up, like I'm being seen. They
Yeah,
chose
man.
to see me.
Thank you. That is so gorgeous that you said that, because that's something I try to do often. But as we know from the way we operate, I don't know, I'll speak for myself on this. When I meet somebody, if I don't make contact with them, whether it's shake hand or just a simple touch on the shoulder or something, and they've just spoken their name, I'm too busy analyzing them because I've been conditioned and programmed to remember features, maybe the way they hold themselves. I've studied bioenergetics, so I analyze the shit out of people. That's what I meant about analytical. I'll analyze you like a fucking robot, and I hear the name, but it's just noise in the back of my head and ear, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, so I'm about to talk to this person, and I can't recollect their name because I was too busy analyzing everything. So whatever I want to say to them isn't going to have that much of an impact. So you're right. The moment you say their name, like, oh, fuck, that guy remembers who I am. All right, let's get back to where we were talking. It's like, cool. So that makes all the difference in the world. These simple little things, man. And that is a sign of gratitude for the appreciation of space for that person that you have before you. That's awesome.
Yeah, people just want to be seen, right? And it comes back to kind of the topic of self-acceptance, of just allowing yourself to be authentically you, because we all just want to be seen at the end of the day. And it's like, aside from like, that person is more than just a Walmart cashier. They're more like, and and so it's like, when you allow yourself to like look them in the eye and say thank you, whatever their name is, they're like, wow, they see me. They don't see, here's just a sales associate or whatever.
Exactly. And it puts them on the moon, like walking on sunshine. I always use that reference because I love the song by Katrina. You feel down and out for whatever reason, and it's usually just because like you're stuck in that roller coaster and that wheel. But when you put on a song that's like upbeat, you're like, oh shit, how can you, as my friend Jason says, how can you not get into that Carlton vibe? That Carlton, you know how he dances? I can't do it.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't deny that. That can take that frown and twist that upside down so quick and bring it back to a smile. And it's like, wow, these simple little practices all day long will keep you vibing as high as possible. And I've had people that work for me, people that I've been around, like, man, dude, your optimistic attitude, mentality, and the way you fucking bring yourself, man, is just so uplifting. Like, you see it on my face. I'm older, I'm tired and shit. I'm interacting with people all day long. And it takes a lot out of you, but this is why I say the consistency is a big factor in my life and should be for anyone else. Sleeping regimen for me is the most crucial key factor that I can put in place for myself to operate at my best. But I mean, we've all gone through our struggles. Like, we're not leaving this world unscathed. We're full of scars, pain, suffering. But when you realize, you get to that point that none of that is relevant, you don't have to be fear-based in that operation mode anymore. Life is bliss. You're literally, forget walking on sunshine, you're walking here on earth, almost on air. And dude, I wake up every morning, I'm like throwing sheets out, like, yeah, baby, let's get this fucking day going, man. Meditating, okay, get my vibe, man. And then just sending out memes and contacting with people and sending my wife and son out to work and seeing my eldest stepboy going out to work and waiting for my youngest one to wake up still. And it's just beautiful to have that unity with people, and that's what we all crave. And as you said, people just want to be heard and seen. It doesn't get any more butthole simple than that. So let them be heard, let them be seen. This is what we're doing with these podcasts. People are flooding in like crazy. I've never woken up to so many notifications on my phone. A mere post that's got almost 400 likes. I'm like, no way, that's got to be someone else's shit. I'm like, wow. And people say, you got the greatest post, Matt. But I don't want to take that and act like it's me, because all I am is the vessel, the messenger, and it's a collective whole of all of us uniting together to make this happen, put this into fruition. I'm just the messenger, dude. Like the song, don't shoot the messenger, man. All right. It's just a gorgeous thing. I'm a stat for it.
Awesome. So I'd love to just close out there.
Yeah,
And
man, that's a perfect note. My God, so we'll do that, and I think we'll have another podcast and dive into some other topics at your convenience, here, Mary. It was a pleasure, as always, to have a like-minded individual like yourself coming on here and just expressing your version of your story and how you perceive the world and how you show up. So thank you for that. Appreciate that.
thank you for doing this. Great for having this space for people to come on and allowing me to be on, and everybody who listens to this, let this be your sign to just go out, be you, allow your voice to be heard, allow yourself to be seen.
Thank you. All right, you take care. Okay, talk to you
All right.
soon. All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.